Long ago, a mystical being able to conjure the forms of his imaginations and willpower created what we commonly know as souls. As he formed the basic elements of reality, he paired 9 of the mightiest souls into the truest powers of these elements. These became the primordials. The 9 primordials are Alizair, Alima, Ezra, Raziel, Inferno, Nyx, Vega, Tempest, and finally, Arctica. Arctica is the primordial of the ice and freezing winds. With the aid of the great creator, the primordials decided to breed new life into existence. They manifested their powers to create a planet in the endless void, a sanctuary where life could thrive. And as Alima, the primordial of nature and life, assisted the great creator possibly the most, all agreed to name the planet Alima. All of these elemental beings left parts of the landscape in their image, allowing for the potential shifts in magic to build a portal to the elemental plane of its maker. In the absolute north of the world, Arctica, the creeping dread, ensured a frozen landscape for his creatures and hearty children. A winter wonderland all year round, Pengua was a beauty to behold, with its most prominent creatures being its namesake, the humble penguin. As Alima populated the planet with the great creator, a strong and mighty race of beings known as the Norse found their surroundings quite special. The Norse considered their environment important to developing character. The harsh reality of freezing temperatures and scarce places for shelter ensured the mightiest people a home protected from enemies by the intense elements. They would revere the hardships ahead of them, and even more so, worship the gods that help motivate survival against all odds, as well as learn from their wisdom. Penguins, reindeer, Arctic foxes, wolves, polar bears, seals, walruses, wolverines, narwhals, lynxes, beavers, eagles, bears, puffins, and the like all roam the snowy fields of Pengua, including more ancient animal species lost to time. There once was an abundance of plant life, with tales from the Norse pantheon forming later generations, speaking of berries that held the sweetest of juices, some particularly savory fruits, trees that reach the heights of Arctica's frost giants, and bear a bluish-green hue. These tealwood trees seemed to absorb some of the magic in the air, and even emitted a certain glow at night, especially when the bark was removed. Many love stories between the Norse people involved the tealwood tree at some point, usually with their names inscribed on the tree, and asking for the deities to give guidance throughout their lives. Hunting is a primary source of food for those living in the frigid north, but hunters must be honorable and pay respect to nature. Never to overhunt an area or taking animals before they've had a chance to mate and repopulate. These lands are also known to hold brewers of alcohol, celebrations for life's achievements, and immense fervor for the gods, enough to allow their deities to walk amongst their people and feast within their great halls. It is even said that the Norse pantheon were the first gods to transform the rune material that builds in their realm into usable weapons and armor for mortals to wield, not to mention perfecting the technique of rune marks. Much of Pengua's history is lost beyond the knowledge of the gods, for when the mortals tried to manipulate the powers of the cosmos and created ruin out of Alizair, the culmination of different interpretations of the primordial of water, the entire planet was flooded. This information was passed to Arctica during the end of the first cycle, and unlike the other primordials, he would not let this grudge go. As the millenniums went on, it became clear that not only was Alizair's avatar more powerful than what was capable for other primordials to bring to the planet, but the Lord of the Nine Hells, Asmodeus, was systematically consuming deities in the shadows. By the time this realization occurred, it was too late to stop his plans, and to get involved would risk failing, which would give Asmodeus his first avatar consumed. But the first fall would go to Inferno, beckoned out by Asmodeus, the orcish god Grumsh, and the blood and soul of the former war god Tempest. And then later Raziel would fall to Asmodeus single-handedly. Every time ruin would flood the world, Alima would use his avatar to rebuild the continents and combat his corrupted brother. This was known as a cycle, and in this last cycle, Alima had fell to the manipulated, enhanced warriors Asmodeus sent to get the Earth Primordial out of the way. But Pengua was rebuilt, like always, although this time even less comfortable. After the first cycle, the demi-primordials of Arctica requested to be sealed in impenetrable ice, to one day be freed, and this frozen prison remained in the northwest corner of Pengua. The 10th cycle would see an abundance of penguins, more than any other cycle, and only a small tribe of Norse to the north. Nearly a few decades ago, a small tribe of gnomes from Evermeadow's shores went to explore what they thought were undiscovered lands. Little did they know, the journey there was difficult and would be their last, as the ship was dashed upon the icy lands. For a time, they gathered the last remnants of trees in their southern region to build houses, even making igloos. Through the years, they survived on penguin meat, which was sickening after some time. A small band of adventurers somehow were teleported to the lands and found the gnomes' home, known as Dead on Arrival, and were welcomed in. However, they were gone into the blizzards nearly as quick as they arrived, and were consumed by something truly horrifying. The demi-primordial of ice and death, known as the Wendigo, is a gangly being with horns like that of a deer and a face of a skull, and a body that would grow immensely in height with all living and dead meat it consumed. A soul not consumed by the Wendigo was permanently altered into a Wendigo spirit that possesses those who contemplate cannibalism, and especially those who partake in it. The gnome tribe was affected the most, as all but one gnome succumbed to cannibalism, named Goki. He would then escape his fate and rush to find some kind of safety. Along the way, he noticed a strange icy descent in the center of the continent guarded by ice elementals. They did not pose him any threat, but merely suggested he try his luck up north to the small Norse village of Bilskirnir, and so he did. Goki was welcomed by the son of Thor, Thug, and his son, the Thane Leif Thugson, the only survivor of the fatal trip, defended by some of the planet's mightiest berserkers. And so it was, a continent lost to time, its full history only known to the gods, the demi-primordial of night and ice that has disguised itself as an average animal, and the origin of the cold itself, Arctica, whose bitterness over mortal interference has compelled him to a life of inactivity and a desire for all things to be reset.